Welcome to Life and Living, a community that helps give living meaning. And to have a good life is beyond what people think. Welcome to Life and Living with Samson Olusola Olatunju.
Welcome back to the family house, Life and Living with Samson Olatunji. I hope every time that you have joined in this program, you have learned one thing or the other to make your journey through life smoother than before. And this time we want to talk about an issue that affects every one of us because everyone has it. Everyone has a disadvantage, a disability, or a challenge. And why are we talking about it? The challenge or how we handle it will significantly determine how far we can go in life, how fast, how smooth our journey through life will be. And you would agree with me that sometimes our challenges, our disadvantages can constitute a sort of legitimate, understandable, and acceptable excuse for failure in certain areas of life. However, the legitimacy of the excuse will vanish. It will hit the rock when we see people who have similar disadvantages and they are achieving success as if the disadvantages don't even exist at all. This is why we want to look at a couple of people who have disadvantages, but they are making things good for themselves in life. I would categorize these people into two broad groups. The group of people that succeed despite their disadvantages, and the people that succeed in life in spite of their disadvantages. Some succeed despite the disadvantages, others in spite of the disadvantages. So let's talk about how to turn our disadvantages into advantages. This great man is a classic example of people who are determined to make a dignified living despite a pitiable disadvantage. Can you beat that? He engages in a type of vocation that a fellow man with a complete anatomy would think more than twice before venturing into. He is doing great despite the disadvantage. How I wish someone or some people would assist him. This is an all-blind member choir. The dexterity being displayed is unmatched by quite some singing groups composed of people with both eyes functioning optimally. They perform well as if they were not anatomically blind. They are not whipping up cheap sentiments based on their visual impairment. They are not trying to feed off pittance from any pity party. They are instead working as if the physical challenge does not exist. That is, achieving a feat despite the challenge. At this juncture, I remember the name of a Fuji singer in Yoruba land in Nigeria who was shot into limelight because of his scintillating tunes embellished with good instrumentation some decades ago. His name is Sarafa, and he adopted the stage name Foloju Sarafa. Foloju is a Yoruba word that means the blind. So his stage name is Sarafa the Blind. In Yoruba culture, it is unpardonable to call people by their physical disadvantages. Whoever is so addressed can be justified if he or she responds with violence. But the young musician named himself with the identity of his physical challenge. This called people's attention to the greatness of his performance. They could not but marvel at the fact that the beautiful music was coming from a person that could be termed disabled. In the case of Foloju Sarafa, we see a man who was making a huge career success despite his disadvantage and going further to do so in spite of his challenge. Despite the disadvantage because he was working hard as if he was not aware of the challenge, His achievement was also in spite of the disadvantage because he was bold enough to make a joke out of it by prompting people to call him by the name Foloju. Let's talk about some other people who have at one time or the other made a decent living out of their disadvantages or are still doing so currently. Such people have turned their disadvantage into their selling points without condescending to become street beggars. They are not raising pity parties, but rendering valuable social services with their unique challenges. You are looking at an excerpt from a television serial that shook the southwestern part of Nigeria to its foundations with its amazing popularity in 1987. It was titled Arelu, produced by the late Chief Jimoh Aliu. These two people were named Owo Otori and Torumogbe. Those names are derogatory onomatopoeic words depicting their peculiar stature and shape. In this production, they played the roles of demons or goblins. They really got extremely famous through the roles. And I guess they must have made quite some cool money too, commensurate to how rewarding acting was in those days, as well as the pleasantness of the economy of those days. They played roles that only people with their kind of disadvantage could have played well. If they had had the common stature of all humans, perhaps they would not have gotten any roles in that historic production because they would have had to compete with a multitude of other desperately interested applicants. This woman is popularly known as Iyagbonkan. This is another onomatopoeic name, denigrating also, given to the woman to imitate her challenged stature and shape. She is always cast as a witch in movies and comedy skits, both Yoruba medium and English, simply because of her peculiar looks. She has remained relevant in Nollywood for decades, and she is always smiling to the bank afterwards. She was recently given a car gift by her fans for what she does on set, acting the role of a witch. A success in life is tied to a physical feature that could make many a woman die brooding and blaming her creator. Now you are looking at another successful actress, Auntie Ramota. Ramota is a Yoruba parody of the Arabic name Ramat. However, the sound of the Yoruba parody suggests something or somebody rapidly depreciating, melting off, or about to disappear or evaporate. She, like the earlier personalities, is always given roles in which she is treated with disdain or repulsion by the other characters as a result of her anatomical challenges. Guess what? Her current net worth surpasses that of many a possessor of multiple university degrees. These are 46-year-old Chinedu Ikedieze and 42-year-old Osita Iheme, popularly known as Aki and Pawpaw, respectively. They are an amazing sight to behold in all the productions that feature them. They usually play the roles of rascally children in movies. Their ability to interpret roles cannot be matched by any child of the age they represent in movies. Yet their stature serves an effective make-believe. This is a type of combination that can never be found in any child whose actual age is depicted by the characters. Thus, their small stature has been turned into an unquantifiable asset because their kind is extremely rare. Their net worths are staggering. Not many possessors of multiple academic and professional certificates live in their degree of influence and affluence. This beautiful 18-year-old lady is Ebube Obio. Her relevance in Hollywood is like that of Aki and pawpaw. She plays the role of a little girl with the intelligence of an adult, thus making an excellent character in Hollywood films. She does not have many contenders for this kind of roles that she plays. This advantage is courtesy of her unique stature. She, too, is in really cool money. With these few examples that we have looked at, I hope you can now see that it is possible for you to turn your disadvantage into an advantage by making efforts to succeed despite that disadvantage or in spite of the disadvantage. So, enough of giving excuses, no matter how generally acceptable they are. Rise above your disadvantages, turn them into advantages. Rise above your challenges, turn them into opportunities that you are going to exploit so that you can also make it big in life. We're still in life and living with Samson Ratoji. Thank you very much for watching. Cheerio.
Its benefits transcend you to touch